the recording. Now let's go.
All right, let's roll.
All right. All right. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I see your screen.
See the Zoom and all that. Now, do you
Uh-huh.
see your website?
Yep. Can you load up the
Sure.
full screen?
All right. There you go. How's that a little better?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I sent you this link, but also what you can do is you can either do a / and you can do wp-login.php or wp-admin no PHP. Either one gets you, if you're not logged into your site, either one gets you to where we're going to go. But that's in the email I sent you, so it should be no problem. So you're going to get a WordPress backend login screen right here. It's obviously auto-populating with my login and password, but you would plug in yours. And this is true of any WordPress backend. This is what it looks like. So you just click login. And it's going to take you to the WordPress dashboard, which you'll see it
Okay.
change WP admin.
Okay. Now this isn't GoDaddy's WordPress.
No,
This
no,
is
no.
somewhere
This is
else,
the
right?
WordPress install inside your folder for optimal management. See how it says optimal management solutions? This is the I installed a copy of WordPress and then put your site, ported your site into it, and that's what this is. So that's what we've got. And you can kind of know you're here up here in the corner. You can kind of see where you're logged in. It knows me as admin, but it would be your name, so on and so forth. So that lets you know you're in the back end. Okay. So basic overview. You've got for this site, like you've got a whole list of pages here. If you hover over, you go to all pages. There's some other settings here that you really wouldn't fool with unless you wanted to. The plugins that are installed with the site, improve functionality, so on and so forth. Users, that's where you'd find me and you. And if you wanted to make somebody new for a login, that's where you'd go, and that kind of thing. The theme where you do most of your editing is Divi, which is what it was built in. It's kind of a page builder sitting on top of WordPress, if you will.
Right. That's what you sent me to look at.
Huh?
That's what you sent me to look at.
Exactly.
Okay.
And you can do it. You can get to it here from the back end, but I think it's kind of clunky. And I think Divi really works best to work from the front end. So basically, once you get logged into your site, you can come under here and you see visit site. And I usually right click this and open it in a new tab. So you still have your dashboard sitting there in case you need to go back to it. So this brings you to your site, but you'll notice up here now there's kind of this top bar that shows that you're logged in, right? And it's kind of the whole, you can get you back and forth between the essentials of WordPress. But what's also good is so you can go through your site just as if you were a visitor. You can navigate just to where you need to go. And so say we want to go in here over to this page, right? You want to change something in this page. You'd log in your WordPress back in. I'd say open up a fresh front end page or front end copy of the site. Go ahead and go to it. Let it go into the browser. Looks like it would normally, right? If you come up here and click this enable the visual builder, it's basically going to take this site or take this page and make a copy of it in your browser and let you work on it. And then once you do all your changes, and I'll show you, once you hit save, it basically copies the changes back to your server and goes live with it. So here's all the parts of it. Now, if you hover over stuff, now you see how there's kind of these editing boxes that come up and so on and so forth. That's probably familiar from the video I sent you. How you can hover over and each little element has certain things. Your text box here. This is a slideshow holder, and I'll show you how to get your slideshow. It's not built into Divi. their Divi slideshow is a little suspect for what we wanted to do. So I used a different plugin, but I'll show you that in a minute. But anyway, so any of these, all these have the same kind of elements. Obviously, you've got a move module where you could click and drag it around if you wanted. You know, if you wanted
I could just
to
start
move this
typing
under here.
So edit the words, I could just edit when I'm in there.
Yeah, and if you want to edit whatever entity you've got here, whatever element I should say, whatever box, this is your most important factor here. This little gearbox, if I click it, see it's going to pull up, probably looks pretty familiar with the basic text editor kind of thing. This is your text if you want to change any text. If you want to, obviously you can still do the basic bold or an italic and so on and so forth, and centering and all that, you know, very rudimentary text editing in there. It also has a design tab here that you can play around with the different, you know, your size of the text overall in that box, you know, spacing, you know, it's kind of more module level, module wide changes, right?
Oh, rather than individual. Okay.
So you have to think of it as the way these sites work now is you basically have content in the database and then your design settings in the database, and they meet and show you the page, right? So that's kind of how the way to think this. But like I said, your content, again, there's your text to be a text box. And then once you're done, you know, let's just change this to an exclamation point, make a change, right? So hit save changes. Now you see that's an exclamation point, right?
Yeah.
Now that's not live on the site till you come down here to this purple button. And if you click on it, right over here in the far right is save, right? And that's saving all page changes. So you can make a change here, come over here. So when you're doing that save checkbox, you're just save the changes to this one box element. So if I came over here and wanted to make a change, right? So on and so forth. Again, I'd save the changes. It saves it just for that element. But to save all your changes and to make it live, you have to hit that little purple button and hit save. Once it does that, it's live to the world. It's back working on your server. You've updated the database and off it goes, right? So let's go back in and change this so we don't forget. Change that back to a period. Save changes. I'd come down here and hit save. Okay. Now, you're still going to be able to edit to your heart's content until you hit exit visual builder. Once you do that, you'll see the page just as in a browser, just as everybody else would. You won't see these highlight of editing areas, right?
Oh, okay. And if I wanted to add another slide to the slideshow?
Okay, that's going to be a little different. So let's go back to our dashboard, which I say best practice is keep it open in another tab.
Okay, what is the purpose of this taskboard? We keep going back and forth to it.
This is WordPress's settings. Okay.
Okay.
This is, think of it as like your computer savvy. Okay, so you had a Windows machine, you had DOS that sits at the core, right? And then Windows kind of sat on top of it, right? So you see DOS load and then Windows would load on top of it.
Okay.
Well, this is kind of the same thing. WordPress is the core engine that's driving this site, and Divi is sitting on top of it to interact with, right?
Oh, okay.
That kind of makes sense. But sometimes you, like I said, you won't fool much with here unless you start adding pages and so on and so forth. And even then you can do that through the Divi builder. So, but anyway, like I said, for your slides.
Okay, so now where we are, what you're calling the dashboard, that is the back end. That's where WordPress is. That's
correct. When you log in, this is what you'll see first every time.
Okay, so this is going into WordPress. If I wanted to fool with WordPress and wanted to do things, because GoDaddy has it for free and we use it. I
Yeah,
could do that here because that's what we gave you for Divinity Care. It was made from WordPress.
same thing. If we
Goes
logged
out.
in Divinity Care with their login, you would see something very similar to this, right?
Okay.
It probably wouldn't have this because this was the slider plugin that I added for your little slideshows, which,
Oh, okay.
okay. So anyway, so you're talking about slides. So
Right.
best thing to do is just click up, come out here, go to Meta Slider. Okay. Now you're going to see all of your slideshows up in here. And I've named them according to the page, right? And you can see the information, 500 by 375 pixels. This one's got 3 slides, when it was last updated, so on and so forth, right? So this is the BOC slideshow, which is where the page we just were, right?
Right.
So here you see them all. So there they all are, right? If you want to like swap out this slide,
Probably add. I'll be probably adding some because I know, like
right?
for my for the one which talks about energy efficiency, I didn't put up. I just put up ones that were solar. So I wanted to
Right.
put wind up, you know, the
Okay.
and those
Well,
type of
if you
things.
wanted to add, you just come up here to this top bar, see add slide. Okay, so let's say we want to add a slide. It's gonna want you to pick a photo. If you don't have a photo already in your library, you just come here to upload files, and you can either drag and drop onto this page or you can go to select. Okay, and let me see if I've got something, and we'll delete this out, but see if I've got something just to show you how an upload would work. Okay, let's just say you want to put a slide of this deluxe chicken sandwich from another of my clients. Okay, hit up okay. Now you see, okay, it just uploaded that image. It's got a checkbox. So you're saying, I want that one to be my next slide. See, it says add to slideshow, right? Okay, where is it? By default, it adds it to the bottom. Okay. And it's pulling from the media library caption. So the little box at the bottom on some of your slides, it would read this if I left this. If you want to change it, or you want to type something totally different, which is probably what you want to do, is just hit enter manually, and anything you type in this little box is going to kind of be the tag at the bottom of that particular image. If you want it to link somewhere, either in your site or externally, this is where you'd paste that URL.
Okay, and they click on it.
So yeah, and so you can make the slide clickable on any of them. And if you want to open in a new window and not replace the site you're on, you know, maybe jump off or whatever, you would just check that box. Okay. As far as slide order, see if I hover over its title or its top bar, I should say, it turns to a little arrow, and I just click and hold, and you see how it just changed. I can kind of go up through the stack and put it in whatever order I want.
Oh,
right.
okay.
All right. If I don't want it in there anymore, just exit out, and off it goes. So if you want any of these just to go away completely, X them out. Then once you're done, come right up here to the top and hit save. Once you hit save, it's automatically going to update to the site. You don't have to go back to the page it's on or anything, because they have what this little placeholder tag where they are. Like this DOC one is in Meta Slider, it's number 346, right? Well, that little tag is sitting in a little text box on that page. And so any changes you make here, as soon as you hit save, you don't have to worry about updating the page. It's gonna start showing your new slides automatically. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Yeah. So that this is kind of like you're fooling with your slides, your slideshow. This is kind of outside of Divi, but they're anchored into your Divi layout by this little code that I've embedded wherever they needed to go.
Oh, the medical. Okay.
Yeah, and if you wanted to create a whole new slider, like I said, you'd build it and you would copy this, and I'll show you how this goes. So going back to this page, so if we hit this and let it go live, you'd start seeing them rotate, and whatever changes you made would start happening right here, just like everybody else would see. Okay. But let me show you this. So you hover down into the module settings. See, there it is All it is a little text box with that little code in it. And
Oh, okay.
the system knows to pull that slideshow information from Meta Slider and display it there. That's all it is. That all this is a placeholder. I mean, there is no design element. No, I mean, you could, if you wanted it to be a box shadow or put a border around it, all that stuff. You could do that here, but right now it's just a plain Jane, white box that holds that slideshow. Does that make sense?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. And then, like I said, all this other stuff, these are just rows, or excuse me, they're menus, because these are all different navigation. So I've basically just put in, this is called a menu module, and it asked me what menu I want to drop in there on this particular area. So there's one here, one there, and one there, because that's kind of your sub navigation. And that's the way I had to do it to kind of get it to work the way your site was. Menus, as far as editing, this is another little trick, is where you'd have to come out of this and go back
Now,
in.
let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Here, we had these as sub menus. Would they have been up here and they would have come down with the newer ways that is done?
Yeah. This little navigation is site wide. So when it drops down and you can kind of nav through and all that, like I did at the beginning, that's site wide. These are just kind of links that kind of operate within that little sub area, that the drop downs, and that was just a port over from the design. If you don't feel you need them anymore, just come up here and trash them out.
No, I need them because they help break down, because there's so much in here. Try to break it down. Which one do you want? And you wouldn't even have no clue of what's in there.
Right. So to show you how to change these, again, this is one other element that you'll be, if you're dealing with outside of Divi, is you come back over here, just kind of like Meta Slider, but you come up here to Appearance and Menus. Okay. Now, so you can see this is the Business Management sub menu, and these are the pages, basically I may put in the menu. But so there's your main menu, which is at the top. The Business Management sub menu that has these 4 pages. A Services sub menu, you have to hit select to get it to load, has these 2. Sustainable Infrastructure, switch it off, has these 4. And then your training programs has these 2, right? So I kind of broke it up in chunks, for the layout to work right. Say if you create a new page, or you say you want to add one of your existing pages, say we want to add your contact to this menu. Obviously, it's right here for most recent, but if you don't see it in most recent, you can obviously view all, and this is all of your pages in your site. Or if you want to do a search, you know the name. So all you're doing is basically building a list of links, is all this menu module does, right? So let's say we want to add contact, you just check the box, hit add to menu, it puts it in right there. Say you want to change the order, it's very similar to the other. You click and hold, it can move up and down the stack. Okay. And if you want to get rid of anything, you just kind of open up and hit remove. Again, once you're done mucking around, hit save menu. It's very much like the slider. Once you hit save menu, you don't have to worry about going in and updating anything on the pages. It will do it automatically.
Okay, because this is in in Divinity, the other one.
No, this is WordPress core. The menus.
Okay, right. Okay, so WordPress core. You click it one,
and
the other one you got to go through a few. Okay.
Yep, appearance and menus. Okay. So, like I said, once I hit save menu, now it's live back on the site. Okay. Whatever changes you make. Okay. Now, I'm trying to think what else you would maybe need. If you ever wanted to get into a blog, it's built in here. So that's the difference. See these where you have a post section and a page section. Just so for future knowledge, WordPress started as a blog platform and has grown obviously exponentially. But it still has it in its core. If you wanted to start a blog, this is where you'd build them. And say you add new. Come on. It's going to add a very simple, you'd add a title. Here's your text, so on and so forth. If you want to, you want to add, if you want to hyperlink something, or if you want to build the page using the Divi builder, they always have that option up there. This is WordPress's editing suite, kind of plain Jane, whereas Divi's much more feature rich. But so you can do it either way. It's totally up to you.
Okay.
And like I said, and you can even you can either add new categories. Say you want to categorize your articles or your thoughts. You could just add a category and call it, environmental or resources or whatever, and you could tag your posts and people could find them by that way. Or what's he written on environmental stuff? Oh, here's the 5 things he wrote because you tagged it environmental or whatever.
Okay, so, under the tags. Okay, got you.
Yeah, so you kind of create these tags here. They call them categories. This is tag. This is when I say this is kind of more advanced. This tag stuff down here. Stay in categories. That's the best way to organize posts. So anyway, and then once you're done with everything, you would just hit published, and it would be live, and you could take the hyperlink and share it out on Facebook, or hey, check out my new article, or whatever. If you wanted to go that route, I'm just saying it's built in. It's kind of nice.
Okay, sort of like what YouTube does.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, people do it all by video now. Exactly right. But if you're old fashioned, you want to still write articles and put in pictures and so on and so forth, you've got the power here, is what I was just trying to tell you. All right, so get out of this. We didn't save anything. And then obviously it's kind of like your pages. It would show you a full list. So go in here, your pages, obviously you can come here to all pages. So you can see, here's your list, here's your site, all your pages, right? And it kind of Divi out here to the side says, hey, this has got a Divi layout associated with it, right? So if you go, say we wanted to edit your about page, you can hover over it and hit edit. If you didn't want to go to navigating to it this way, and it's going to load the Divi backend builder, which is basically just kind of a wireframe of those same elements, right? See how these things, they're just kind of showing. So this is kind of thing, the wireframe structure that Divi uses for that particular page. And again, it works the same way. You can edit. It's going to pull up. That just happens to be the about header, right? Come down here. There's your about content. You can stretch this out, to work with. See, if you stretch it out far enough, your tabs automatically open in your little Divi editor. Remember I said you had content and then design? Stretch it out enough. See, they jump to a tab here. But if you got the screen space, you can go ahead and have everything at your disposal without having to click back and forth between tabs in this little editing window, right? So anyway, so this is what shows up on your about page. Same thing. Once you make changes, hit OK. Now the difference is that little purple button's not going to show up here because this is the back end editor. So you would have to come over here and hit update. That's the same as save on over here on the front end. It's all what you're used to. I personally like the front end editor better because it's kind of what you see is what you get. And you can navigate through your actual content and go, okay, I need to change something here. And it hovers over and you open up the information.
Oh, okay.
And that's what that visual builder is. But if you're old school and you like wireframe, want to look at kind of how the page or how the site is built, so to speak, then you can obviously go through the WordPress thing, and this little back end Divi builder loads and operates the same way. It's just not as visual, right? So same content there. So you can come at your content from the back, from the pure back end, from the front end, the page builder, either way. And as long as you hit save or update, it's gonna go live to your site. And it will not do that until you do that.
Okay.
So as a matter of fact, what you can do, say you want to work on something. So let's say we wanted to add a new page. That's all right. Leave that. It's just saying you've got changes. All right. So say you're working on a new page or a new post. They've got this nice thing here called Save Draft right up here, right? So say you work on it, get pulled away, you want to come back to it, hit Save Draft. It's not on the site live until you hit publish or update.
Okay.
Right? So you can work to your heart's content on your content, keep hitting Save Draft. It'll even show a preview. Let's just say, let's say get started here on this page. All right. I save the draft. All right, gonna have getting close to the end of the time here. And then if you hit preview, which I always like to do in a new tab, it'll show you what it looks like live on the site, such as it is right now.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
But see, it shows you with your header and your footer and all that stuff. Right.
Okay, so the header we're calling, that's where we have our logo.
Yeah, the header and this
the
logo and this sky field and this navigation bar are all in the header. And this bottom set of links and your copyright thing is all in the footer. They'll show up on every page.
Okay.
Show up on every page.
Oh, every page. Okay, gotcha.
Unless you don't want them to. Yeah. But yes, by default, that's the way it keeps your site looking consistent and so on and so forth. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. All right, we'll get out of this. Okay. So just to show you the difference, now if we go back here, now see, I didn't title it, but see, it puts it at the top. And there's the draft of that hello world page I just made, right?
Oh, okay.
And then, so if I want to go back into it, I can edit, but we don't need it. And see how it says out for the draft? That can kind of, okay, that's not a live page. That's just a draft when you look at your whole list, right? So let's just trash that out. And it's just very much like your computer. It goes into a trash can. You can also undo it. You're like, oh, I wanted to save that page, right? So you can even look at what's been put in the trash. So like these two others, they just came in by default as part of the WordPress build. And I just delete them because you don't need them, right? And you can delete them out permanently or just leave them in the trash. They're just, just bits of data. So, but anyway, so you can see here, you can look at all your pages. You can look at your published pages, which is the same, but if you had some that were under draft, they would disappear under published. And then if you happen to trash something and not delete it, it's still hanging around and you can restore it if you wanted to.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yep.
Okay. That's really it as far as it goes.
Okay.
What's good about this, what's neat about this is, say we wanted to add something new on this page. So this little blue see, it says add a new section. Say regular section. It's going to ask kind of how many columns you want in it, right? It's got a lot of nice breakdowns. Let's just say we want a single column. Then it immediately goes, well, what kind of module you want to put in it? And they've got everything. If you had an audio clip, you could put it in there. They have these special bar counters, a button, circle. I mean, all kinds of. It's really rich. That kind of stuff. So you can kind of go through there and see. They got a video slider. They got everything. And then, so say we wanted to put in a video, we put that in. It's going to put in this placeholder right there, right? And you say, well, that's not my video. So you come up here to the gear button. And you would either, if you'd upload a video, you could find it here. Or you could upload one just like a picture. Or it says you can trash this out. And if you hit add video, again, if you insert from a URL, that's where you would put your YouTube short code.
Okay.
Right? If it's already posted to your YouTube channel and you want to nest it in your page, this is where you do it. You just come in right here. This would be a locally hosted file, which nobody ever really does anymore, but it'll let you. Or you do insert from URL, and this is where your little code that when you hit share, on YouTube and it says share, this is where you'd paste that in, right? And then your video would show up.
Oh, okay.
Right in, it would just be in a little player right here in the page, right? And it would be pulling from YouTube, right?
Okay.
Or wherever, Venmo.
Now, YouTube has a lot of things that they keep running into. When you finish, then they try to give you another one. Would that block that?
Just so you mean like the
yeah, and they just keep it. I'm like, wait a minute.
No, there's you have to put a little special bit of code at the end of the URL, and but you can look it up through a Google search and say how to get rid of recommended videos at the end of YouTube, and it's a little piece of hack code that goes into that little URL. You just kind of paste it at the end, and it's kind of like a do not follow or something like that, and that tells the YouTube server to not display that last splash screen with other stuff. Yes, it can be done, but it's kind of a case-by-case basis. It's a little bit of hacking. So.
Okay.
But it can be done. I mean, it's not illegal. It can be done. Yeah. So.
That makes sense. I mean, it is your video. You should have control over it.
Well, yeah, but they're not charging you anything to host it.
Now some of my stuff that they're putting in ads, and I'm like, well, you're not paying me for it. Why are you putting ads in my stuff?
Because you're not paying them to host and serve your video, and that's how they want to make revenue off your video, right?
Oh, without your permission.
Yeah, because they said, okay, you're using our service for free. We're letting you serve your video to the world. Well, we're going to put our ad at the end. So anyway, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's kind of how YouTube works. But anyway, but like I said, that's basically it as far as editing and adding elements and building and so on and so forth. It's best thing to do is what I would say is to get in the back end, make you a new page, save it as a draft, and start playing around with it. Because you can't break it, and nobody's going to see it. So
well, that's what I'm gonna do. That's what I'm gonna do with the People of Color 1.
Yeah.
Start going in and starting pulling out and because I have to figure out how we're gonna actually lay it out. Like you said, there's a lot of things.
Yeah, you got a lot of stuff in there. Yeah. But I mean that's basically it. And like I said, the best way to do it is by practice, just like anything else. Just get in there and root around with it. And until you make that page live, nobody's gonna see it. So just beat around with it, hit the preview button, see what you've done, that kind of thing. That's my best advice. Put it that way.
Okay, I appreciate it. I appreciate that.
Okay. All right. If you got any other questions for me?
No, I said I'm gonna start working on that People of Color 1. So until I got it in a place where, because I don't know if you thought of how you wanted to lay it out.
Right. Yeah, no, I like I said, I mean, I have some ideas, but I haven't dug that deep into it. I looked it over and I said, I could see how it could go in that kind of site or this, that, and the other, but I haven't done a deep dive into it as far as that goes. But yeah, because it's a lot. It was built in frames. It's an antiquated site, so it's you kind of have to extract the info into a 21st century layout and kind of have to rethink it a little bit,
Right.
And I think if you're comfortable doing it, you're better suited to do it than I am. Than me trying to, read your mind.
Trying to get into my head. Oh, you wanted this. Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, this is exactly what I would do to start the build on that. I would just start building and start building pages and get all the content in, and then start kind of designing it, see how I want it. Do I want this in 2 columns or what? What's really good too is just to show you this site is mobile optimized, so you can see how each page would look So that's how I'd look on a tablet.
Oh,
That's how I'd look on a phone. Like you can see it in preview while you're in the Divi builder, which is kind of nice. So you can see if something goes wacko on a mobile version. But you only have, you don't have to update multiple sites. It's one site. It just restructures itself for whatever it's being viewed on, which is really nice.
Okay, and that's what web builders allow.
Yeah, yeah. That's another nice little thing over here on the left for the visual builder. They're getting ready to cut us off, it looks like, for Zoom. So if you don't have any other questions, we can call it a day for now. What do you say?
Okay. Now, if I wanted three major portions, like I told you, I wanted one for health, one for history, and one for Bible. How would I do that? That they will be up
I would start with them as a page, a parent page, so to speak.
Okay.
And then jump off from there, or put into subsections. Yeah. I would have I kind of think of it as an outline. Start with your big chunks first, and then kind of work it out. What's the
branch off
the sub content, if you will.
Right. Yeah. So everybody goes to one
like
page.
An outline, just like you.
Okay, got you. All right. Yeah. I appreciate